My name is Line Hviid. Before I start rolling my slideshow, I just wanted to ask you guys if this scenario might sound a bit familiar to you guys. Remember, you're back at work. I don't want to be the party pooper. Maybe you're here at the conference having fun. But just please try to imagine being back at work. You're doing some task, and then suddenly you realize, oh, I need some information, and I do believe I saw it in a document, maybe an email. I should look for that. I have no idea how long that will take. I could also ask my colleague, Betty, because I know that she knows. I can see just a few heads nodding. This is familiar, yes. So you just decide for yourself, well, it's much faster, much more efficient to just go ask Betty. So you do that. Of course, I mean, you can see the headline. You know where I'm going with this. If Betty is very focused and concentrated, maybe she's not that fond of you that moment, right? So we're going to talk about focus time. We're going to talk about limiting the distraction. We are going to talk about why we have to stop interrupting each other all the time. Yes, and on that note, and speaking of distraction, I just want to say this is not me being on TikTok, I promise. This is my clicker. It is also a technical device because, as you could see, there's a code, and that's very ironic, but I actually want you to take your phones and scan that QI code, because I have a couple of questions during this talk that I'm going to ask you guys. So while you're doing that, I'll make sure that this is now working, hopefully. All right. I have an agenda for today, so I'm going to drag you through 4 bullets. First and foremost, we're going to start out with some awareness. And this is something about how the human brain works. And my guess will be that a lot of what I'm going to tell you guys is something you already know. And I'm sorry about that, but there's a reason the word says awareness. There's something we need to be aware of and remember when we're working together. So yeah, I'm going to do just a quick recap of some stuff about the human brain that we need to remember. Then we're going to talk about enemies of our focus time. And this might sound a bit like, I don't know, an action movie. I'm going to disappoint you guys. No car chases, it might be a bit boring, but there are some enemies towards our focus time. And I'm also now going to spoil my own talk, because one of the enemies is actually habits. And that is so important that I have dedicated an entire bullet for it. So now you know one of the enemies are habits. Last but not least, I do have some tips for you on how to actually get just a teeny amount more focus time into your everyday life. I'm not going to give you a revolution, I'm so sorry, but small steps is what I'm going to give you at the end. Before I get to all that, I do have some warm-up, and if there's anyone among the audience that hates energizers as much as me, I can assure you that is not what I'm going to. It's just some brain exercises to get into that awareness part. But maybe I should just start introducing myself. I'm an independent consultant. I help leaders, teams, and organizations to add structure to their collaboration. And what that means in all practicalities are basically getting the right meetings into the calendars, not those meetings where you don't know why you were invited and nobody followed up, but actually meetings that support our collaboration. It's also about having a tool for it. I mean, this is a developer conference, so we're talking Jira, stuff like that. It could also just be Microsoft Planner. I don't give a shit, as long as we have a tool that we're working with together. But most importantly, all this tool meeting talk, it's actually about having an ongoing conversation about the stuff we're doing together and how we're doing it together. And I want you to put a pin in that one, that conversation part, because that is going to pop up many more times. Yes, just hopefully the shortest resume in history. I've been working with processes for more than 15 years. It's been mostly in Agile because I've been in digital for more than 20 years, mostly in development projects, so doing new stuff, new features. In Waterfall, I've tried that. I don't want to do it again. I'm not saying Agile is perfect, but when it's development, it's just a bit more fun. I actually started out in communication, did digital communication. I have a master's degree in rhetoric, and maybe that is where all that interest in human beings started, because I am just fascinated by how we humans interact, basically how our brain works, how our software and operating system works. I think that's amazingly interesting, and that is probably also why I have some brain stuff in here. Yes, and maybe this is a service announcement for people in the audience speaking Danish. I still communicate a lot, even though I don't have a title with communication in it anymore. I have a newsletter about collaboration in Danish, and I have a couple of podcasts. One is retired, that's the Agile one. I just added a new one about collaboration because I think we need to talk about collaboration together. So if anyone's interested, find me, that would be lovely. Yes. But enough about me, because I said I had some warm-up for you guys. This is the question I sometimes get, distractions, so what? Isn't this just, how everyday modern working life is? And I'll tell you what. In a minute, I'm going to show you some headlines. And I have to apologize because they're in Danish, but it doesn't really matter because the word that I need you guys to look for is spelled the same in English, and my guess would be in Swedish as well. So, when you Google what should modern countries like Sweden, like Denmark, what should we live off in the future and now? What is the word I'm looking for? Anyone? Yeah, you're great. You're very quiet, but you're great. Yes, innovation. And this is what everyone says. All the clever people, the politicians, we should live innovation and ideas, creativity. And that might have something to do with our brain and with our mind. And I actually have something more on this subject for you guys. This is a quote. Turning today's boldest idea into tomorrow's realities, ensuring that innovation uplifts society while addressing its ethical complexities. Where did I get this? This is taken from the theme of Øredev conference this year. This is why you're here. So if anyone want to argue that this is not relevant for you guys, you can just leave the room. Yes, we need to be aware of how we're using our brains because we are not any longer working mostly by our hands. So this is why it is so relevant to talk about distractions. All right. Now we are finally arriving at that exercise, warming you up a bit. Segue into all the awareness. Going to do this exercise with a bit of information before that. I think you know where I'm going with this, and I think you might have already figured it out. I'm going to explain anyway. We are going to just quickly look at routine task versus thinking task. And I know I'm not going to shock you now. Routine tasks, they are automatic through routines. So those are the tasks that we repeat again and again and again. They become automatic. We can do it with, I'm going to say, our head under our arm. We say that in Danish. I don't know if we say that in English, but maybe you get the picture. And then, of course, we have the thinking tasks. I don't want to shock you, but that is a task that requires thinking. And those are mostly tasks you haven't done before. Maybe nobody has ever done them before. So these are two categories. And now I am going to send you to your job once again. And I want you to think about what core tasks are part of the job you are hired to do. Not everything you're doing, but the core, you are hired to do something specific. There's something core task in those, in your job. Think about them, and then think about how many of those are actually thinking tasks. Can you do that for me? Have it in your mind or on a notepad? Small notes. All right. And this is where it gets exciting, because this is my first question for you guys, and now I have to switch to Slido. There, and then I have to activate a question for you guys. It's very multitasking, we're getting back to that. Yes. If you had all the control in the world of your time on a regular 8-hour workday, how many of those tasks would you decide to devote to your thinking tasks? This is very exciting. I should have had some music or something. Ding, ding. I cannot sing. I will stop now. Yes. So quite a lot. Not all, of course, because sometimes you also, hopefully you have routine tasks, because otherwise I think you would just, I don't know, your mind will crumble or something like that. All right. We will get back to that. So thank you for your data. I can say that in this conference. All right. Moving on, switching around on my phone. Yes, this brings me to actually my first bullet that hopefully we are really warmed up for now. How human works, as I said, this is probably a recap. We'll start to look into that creativity that apparently we need. So I'm going to present you for a boiled down, very simple version of how the brain works when it has to be creative. And it looks something like this. We give the brain some input, and that could be reading something, it can be trying to solve a problem, it could be talking to a colleague, listening to a podcast. Just you're adding something into your brain, and your brain is now working on it. Then what you should do, if you really want to be creative and innovative, you should take a break. Preferably, you should do something completely different. Physically is good, going for a walk, do the dishes, take a shower, get back to that. Because what happens when you then switch your attention to something else, just go about your business, not concentrating on something difficult, is that your brain is actually working in the background on that problem thingy you just presented it to it. So that's lovely. It's doing the work, you're doing the dishes, and then you get the idea. How many of you have experienced this? All of you, creative people. Yes. So I hope we can agree that this is something we should have plenty of in our working life. Am I right? This is good. Yes, very silent. Few nods. Yeah, maybe. That brings me to focus, because that input thing, there's something we need to focus on, and focus takes time. And now I'm giving you a fact that I'm pretty sure all of you, or at least most of you, have heard before, that it takes about 20 minutes to go into full concentration. I can see somebody nodding. Yes, heard that before. And I've made a note on it, because it's if you're distracted. I mean, if you're like, ooh, I'll look out of the window and just have that break, all good. But, you know, when Betty comes along, getting her revenge from you disturbing her earlier, that's the distractions we're talking about, because that's something completely different. A question for you guys. Are we human beings, are we able to multitask? No. And neither are women, just to be clear. No. And that is true. We are not able to multitask. Several studies, neuroscience, scanning the brain, we simply don't have the infrastructure for this. And the note on this one is that we can actually do routine tasks while we are thinking. We cannot do 2 thinking tasks at the same time, and not 3, please don't. And this is the reason that when I'm cooking dinner, I can chop vegetables and I can listen to a podcast. That goes fairly well. I do not cut off my fingers or anything like that. But if I have to consult the recipe, I need to stop the podcast, because I cannot listen to that and also concentrate on how many ounces of something. So we can only do one thing at a time. But some of us might have a feeling that, well, it goes fairly well. I'm good at multitasking. No, you're not. I just said it. we simply don't have the infrastructure in our brain. So what is happening is, and you might have heard this before as well, that we're actually task shifting. And that means that what your brain is actually doing is like looking at that thing that needs something you need to get done, then you're looking at that, and then back, and you're shifting and shifting. And then I just want to point to those 20 minutes and ask you, how much really great concentration are you getting? Absolutely nothing. And this, of course, has some consequences. Whether you feel it or not, it's actually stressful, it's tiring for your brain, and it just has so many consequences. It slows us down, it lowers the quality of our work, we make more mistakes, and yes, we get stressed. So, multitasking is shit. You can quote me for that. Yeah. Those were just the things I want you to be aware of. Now we are heading on to those enemies. And I'm going to just start introducing you to the 3 enemies we have to look at, and then I'm diving into each and one of them. First and foremost, there's technology. It's not only that one that was just the emoji I chose, it's also like this, the technology that distracts us and tempts us. Then there is this bias. This is my symbol of a bias. That my claim is that in our working culture, we have a bias towards availability. We have this idea that if we should work efficient, we are disturbing Betty and all our colleagues because it's much faster. Last but not least, and here's the habit I've already introduced you to, we get bad habits because of those two. Those two make a very, very bad alliance to us. And that means that we get those bad habits. And I don't know about you, but is it easy to change habits? Yeah. I mean, if it was easy to change habits, all of us would eat immense amounts of broccoli. None of us would ever binge Netflix. I don't think that's the world we have. All right. Enemy number 1. Technology. One problem, rabbit holes. And don't get me wrong, I also love technology. It gives us so many possibilities. It also makes it sometimes a bit difficult to choose what to run after, so we run after everything, and we can just do anything, and as I said, it also tempts us. I don't know if you have tried this. I have, but you're like, whoa, let me Google that. And then an hour later, you're like, oh shit, I had to do. I mean, we can just go down those rabbit holes again and again, and maybe we find out something interesting, maybe we waste our times. But there's a more serious reason why this is actually an enemy when it comes to focus and distractions, and that is pings from other people. These are the reason that we are available. And that is a problem. It's also lovely, but it's also a problem. Small exercise. What do you see here? Yes, most people see faces. Not all. Some people actually just see a water faucet, a machine thingy, I don't know really what it is, and, well, yes, that is actually the electric socket from my home office. I see faces as well, and I especially like the one on the right, it looks a bit happy. And there is a reason why we see faces, I mean, the weirdest places. We see faces because human beings are extremely social animals. We are pack animals, and as all pack animals, we need to be a part of the pack to survive. That goes for all pack animals in the world. A pack animal that is being shun out of the pack is very, very soon a dead animal. So that is survival, staying inside the pack. But human beings are also extremely wired for collaboration. I mean, all that communication I talked about, that is just one example how wired we are, that we are able to communicate in this very, very complex way with our language. And that also means that we are scanning for faces. We are scanning for, do you see me? Do you like me? If you ask for help and I say no, does that mean that you won't like me as much? And maybe if I need help from you, will you then not help me? All this is going on all the time. And all that means is that the toughest distraction you'll ever come across, it's other people. Yes. And that brings me to another moment to reflect. And this is when I have to do my technological dance once again. Now I want you to go back to this Monday, if you were at work. Think about how many hours did you work focused with no distractions. And two things. First of all, you can distract yourself, all right? I'm not only talking about other people distracting you. Checking your email while you're working on something, same. So that is one thing. The other thing, please be honest, it's just us. Nobody's going to tell. And of course, I have to do all that switching again and activate another question. So how many hours did you actually work in focused mode this Monday without distractions? I can hear laughter. I like that. I'm also looking for the cursor. Oh my God. You guys. Where did my cursor go? Yes, I'm just going to compare, right? This is the ideal. This is the reality. Oh my gosh. Yes. I'll remove that. And I mean, I just want to be completely clear here. I'm not trying to shame anyone. Every time I do this talk, I get stuff like this. I was actually a bit curious this time because I know there's many developers in here and I know developers fight to get focus time. So I was actually a bit, maybe even worried. Would I have a difference? I had a difference. So thank you. Because I said earlier on that we have this bias towards availability. You've just proved it to me. So thank you. So we need to get those graphs to just look just a bit more like each other to actually get the focus time in we need to create these creative and innovative ideas. And I know I've come across so many people who have tried this very hard. And among my clients, there's usually at least one manager that is like showing me his calendar is like, look, I have focus time, and they have maybe 1, maybe 2 hours blocked every day named focus time. Any one of you doing stuff like that? Yes. What usually happens is like they're complaining to me, like nobody respects this. They keep booking me in my focus time. It's very annoying. And then what I'm tempted to ask them is, do you respect it yourself? I mean, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks ago, one of my clients, we had to find some time where I can do a session with her. She needed help on some stuff. And then she says to me, you can just book me in my focus time. Not really, no, I shouldn't do that. So we try to do this, try to do these hacks, and it's very, very, very difficult. And it's difficult because we have this expectation towards each other to be available. And that is, of course, something about we have to do it together. And I'm sorry about that very heavy sigh into the microphone. Okay, I was shocked a bit. We have to establish good habits together to help each other with this. Otherwise, we'll never succeed. So, the last and very, very important enemy, habits. Just a definition, I do believe you know what a habit is, but let's just do this. Something that you do often and regularly, sometimes without knowing that you're doing it. Does that sound right? Yes. And there's a reason for this. The reason is that the brain is plastic. Have you heard this term before? Bit of nodding, yes, nodding. It basically means that the brain is molded by the way we use it. And what is happening inside the brain is that when you are doing something for the very first time, there is a neuron pathway being created in your brain. It's very small. And the more you do that same thing, this pathway becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Otherwise, if you don't use it, it'll just dwindle down and be very small. And of course, those habits, they're really, really, really strong. And this is the reason why you show up at work determined that you will only check your email twice today, and you end up checking all the time because that pathway is just much more stronger. So, well, it's fairly simple. You want to change habits? Well, you just have to do the same thing over and over and over again while you stop doing that thing you used to do. All right? With me so far? Yes. There's no shocked people in this room. Everybody says, yeah, get along. So, we need to fight those enemies. So how do we change habits? Question. How do you eat that? In pieces, yes. Don't try to eat it all at one time. But that is usually not what we're doing when we want to change our habits. I mean, this is one of the reasons why New Year resolutions usually don't work. Because on New Year's Eve, maybe it's too much champagne, like people go overboard, like I am going to eat healthy, that's a broccoli, I'm going to exercise, and I am going to be so focused on work, I'm adding 2 hours of focus into my calendar, it's going to be great. And maybe it is, I don't know, for the first week, and then January catches up on you, right? Everything goes south. And we are eating whole elephants, and on the job, we're doing it alone. So when you are trying desperately to getting some work done, trying to get that focus time into your calendar, you don't only have to fight your own habits, your own mind. You have to fight all your colleagues as well. So that's a bit tough. So you might choke on that elephant. So we have to do something different. And that is, first of all, by God, do it small. Do some experiments, and I'll get into that small things. Those tips I have for you, those are examples of how small I believe you should do this. So small changes, and one at a time, and do it as experiments, because people are different, tasks are different, organizations are different. You might need to experiment to figure out what works for you in your situation. So that's one of the things you should do. And of course, you should talk about this with your colleagues. Make agreements about this. And, of course, respect each other's focus. You need each other for this one. Yeah. That brings me to the last part. All those tips. All those. I have 3. I made it sound like there was many, only 3. And the first is rituals for starting and ending your day. And the reason why this is a good idea is that it puts you into work mode and it puts you out of work mode. So it also makes it easier for you to take time off when you are actually off work. And start small. That means start the day by deciding what you must get done today. One thing only. And by the end of the day, you, of course, check, did I do this? Maybe you put it on a post-it, you can take the post-it down. Start with one thing. I'm a pro, I choose 3 things. But start with one, you can always scale up. One of the reasons also why this is really a smart thing to do is not only getting into the work mode, it also helps you with this availability bias. First of all, it helps you to remember for yourself, oh, I actually committed to do that one today. Well, I get that done, then I've done something reasonable today. And then when Betty comes along, she's coming along quite a lot right now. When she comes along and says, oh, can you help me with this? And you're, of course, tempted. You want to be a good colleague, so you want to say yes. And then you suddenly realize, well, I committed to do that one. I haven't had time to do that. Can it wait till tomorrow? It just helps you with that just small break, that small... You get a chance to actually get that small amount of focus work into your day. So that is one of my tips. The next one is time blocking. Have you heard that? Any time blockers in the room? Yeah, a couple. It basically means that you're not only booking other people for a meeting in your calendar, you're booking yourself. And this is actually what people are trying to do when they are booking this focus time in their calendar. There are just some problems. Because it's rather fluffy, am I right? Focus time, yeah, focusing on what? And that is actually what your brain is doing. It's like, I don't know. Yes, we can talk to Betty. I mean, why not? I don't know what we were doing in this time. So you need to dedicate some time to some specific tasks. And again, do it small. Don't start out with 2 hours, 1 hour every day. It's too much. The way to do this is very small. Time block 1 hour per week. Only 1 hour. Dedicate that hour to a specific task each week, and then, my friends, you defend that hour with your fucking life. And that means, yes, you can move it to another place in the week. You cannot move it to another week, and no, you cannot delete it. Defend it, and you'll get that thing done. And again, it becomes easier because you've actually made a commitment. I'm going to do that, and I know it's important. Again, this is a small step. You can scale up when you're ready. You have 2 hours, and you go from there, and maybe you become crazy like me, and you time block everything. Yes, everything. My lunch is time blocked. Yep. Then there's breaks. We needed those, right? We need those to get those creative juices going. And just a confession from my side, this is something I have been struggling really hard on. I'm really good at hyper-focusing. That might sound brilliant, and to some extent it is, but it's also a problem, because I feel sometimes I'm just like some sort of happy puppy, like, oh, this is very exciting, I need to be working on this all the time, I cannot stop. And I assure you, I need those breaks, because I will crash and burn if I don't get those breaks. So this has been a struggle for me. So what actually helped me? I'm not a pro on this. I'm a pro on the 2 other ones. I'm not a pro on this. Maybe just getting a bit up in the levels. But to just take a small break, 2-minute break every day, set a timer for it. And yes, break means no screens, no work talk. And if you're an introvert like me, no talk at all. Shh. And what has actually worked for me is actually that timer thing. Because what happens in my mind if I go, oh, I need a break, and I know I need a break, and then I try to take a break, and then my brain is like, but we have to do that work. When are we going to go back to that task we were working on? And that's not very calming. That's very stressful. But the timer actually, it's like a Jedi mind trick for me. It actually helps me. It's like, okay, 2 minutes, then I'll get back to it. So this has helped me. Maybe it will help you guys as well. Yes, I actually have one last thing. Because, now I've said again and again, you need to do this together. You need to talk about this with your colleagues. And I have a small gift for you guys. And don't get too excited. It's a postcard up here. And on the front, it has the tips I've just given you. On the back, it actually has a question that you can bring back to your colleagues, and then you can answer it together. So that is my small nudge for you guys to actually start this conversation with your colleagues. Yeah, but before we get to that, just a recap. Hopefully you've learned 4 things. Your tasks require focus. Technology, the availability, oh, that was a difficult word. The availability bias and bad habits makes it difficult. And you need to change your habits in small steps. And you need to do it together with your colleagues. That was all from me. Find me, say hello. I'll be in that speaker's corner. And thank you for listening.